I found a $100 bill in the trash on a Tuesday morning. My first thought wasn't, lucky me. It was, what kind of idiot throws away money? But then I held it up to the light streaming through my kitchen window, and something felt wrong. The paper was too smooth. The watermark looked like it had been drawn by a kid with a crayon. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just money someone had accidentally tossed. This was fake. And somehow, finding that counterfeit bill would teach me more about value, trust, and human nature than any real money ever could.
My name is David Chen, and at 40 years old, I thought I had life figured out. I worked as a quality control manager at a mid-sized pharmaceutical packaging company in Edison, New Jersey. Not glamorous, but steady. My wife, Marie, taught third grade at Roosevelt Elementary. Together, we made enough to cover our mortgage, our daughter's college fund, and the occasional dinner out at Carrabba's when we felt fancy. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. We were that invisible middle, comfortable enough not to complain, stressed enough not to relax. That particular Tuesday started like every other. I woke up at 5:47 a.m., 3 minutes before my alarm, because my body had internalized dread better than any clock could. Marie was already in the shower, humming something from the musical she'd taken our daughter Emma to see last month. I made coffee, the cheap Costco brand we'd switched to after our car needed new brakes, and scrolled through emails on my phone while standing at the counter. Work emails, mostly. A reminder about the quarterly review meeting, a complaint from Building C about the air conditioning, the usual background noise of adult life. "You taking out the trash?" Marie called from upstairs. "Yeah, I got it," I shouted back, though I'd forgotten until that moment. Our neighborhood had Tuesday pickup, and I'd become one of those people who did everything at the last possible second. I grabbed the kitchen bag and the one from the bathroom, tied them off, and headed outside. The morning air hit me, that specific September coolness that feels like both an ending and a beginning. Mrs. Kowalski next door was already out, walking her ancient beagle. She waved, I waved back. That's when I saw it. Our neighbor across the street, the Hendersons, had their trash bags lined up on the curb. One had split open, probably from a raccoon or the weight of whatever they'd stuffed inside. Garbage had spilled onto the street. Crumpled papers, food containers, what looked like broken picture frames. And there, half tucked under a soggy Subway wrapper, was a $100 bill. I looked around. No one was watching except Mrs. Kowalski, and she was squinting at her phone, probably trying to text her grandson. I walked over, casual-like, and picked it up. Benjamin Franklin stared back at me with that knowing half-smile of his. The bill was dirty, crinkled, but intact. My heart did that stupid thing where it speeds up over something that probably didn't matter. $100. That was groceries. That was the electric bill. That was Emma's homecoming dress she'd been eyeing at Macy's. I glanced at the Hendersons' house. Paul Henderson worked in finance, something with hedge funds that I never fully understood. His wife Jessica drove a BMW and wore sunglasses that cost more than my car payment. They wouldn't miss $100. Hell, they probably threw it out by accident. I folded the bill and slipped it into my wallet, trying to ignore the small voice in my head that said I should knock on their door. Instead, I finished taking out our trash and went back inside. "You okay?" Marie asked when I came back in. She was pouring her coffee, already dressed for work in that navy blue dress she called her Tuesday uniform. "Yeah, why?" "You look, I don't know, wired." "Just need coffee," I said, pouring myself a second cup, even though my hands were already shaking slightly. She kissed my cheek, grabbed her bag, and headed out. I heard her car start and fade down the street. I pulled the bill from my pocket and spread it on the kitchen counter. That's when I really looked at it. The paper felt wrong, too smooth, almost waxy. I'd handled plenty of cash in my life, and this didn't have that slightly rough texture real bills have. I held it up to the light. The watermark was there, but it looked printed rather than embedded. The security thread, that thin strip that runs through legitimate bills, seemed off. It was there, but it didn't shimmer the way it should. I grabbed my phone and Googled how to tell if money is fake. The first article talked about the red and blue fibers that should be visible in real currency. I looked closely. Nothing. The second article mentioned how genuine bills have slightly raised printing you can feel with your fingernail. I ran my nail across Franklin's collar, completely smooth. Shit, I whispered to my empty kitchen. I'd found a counterfeit $100 bill in my neighbor's trash. My first instinct was to throw it away myself, pretend I'd never seen it. But something stopped me. Why would the Hendersons throw away a fake bill? Did they know it was fake? Had someone passed it to them? Were they making counterfeits? That last thought seemed absurd. Paul Henderson, with his pressed khakis and his subscription to the Wall Street Journal, running a counterfeiting operation from his suburban home? I took a photo of the bill with my phone, then another with the flash on to capture the details. Then I folded it carefully and tucked it into my wallet behind my credit cards where Marie wouldn't see it. I spent the rest of the morning at work completely distracted. During the 10 a.m. production meeting, my boss, Frank, asked me 3 times about the new batch labels before he realized he was talking to me. "David, you with us?" he asked, his thick Long Island accent making it sound like, "David, yous with us?" "Sorry. Yeah, the labels. They're good, past inspection." "You sure? Because you look like you're solving world hunger over there." "Just didn't sleep great," I lied. The truth was, I couldn't stop thinking about that bill. Who throws away $100, fake or not? And why was it just sitting there, like it didn't matter? At lunch, I sat in my car and pulled up the photo on my phone again. I zoomed in on the serial number, JB4723847A. I typed it into Google, but nothing specific came up, just general information about serial numbers on currency. Then I remembered my buddy Marcus worked as a bank teller at Wells Fargo. We'd been friends since college, both of us part of that group that stayed local instead of chasing jobs in Manhattan or Boston. He'd know about fake bills. Banks train people for that stuff. I called him. "Dave, what's up, man?" His voice was loud, cheerful. Marcus was always loud and cheerful. "Hey, you busy?" "On my lunch break. Just demolished a chicken parm from Luigi's. What's going on?" Random question. How often do you guys get fake bills? That's a weird random question. Why? I hesitated. I think I found one. Just curious how common it is. Found one where? Just around. Can you tell me what to look for? Another pause, longer this time. Dave, if you found a counterfeit bill, you need to report it. It's illegal to knowingly possess fake currency. I know. I'm not trying to use it or anything. Just want to understand what I'm dealing with. He sighed. Okay, look. We get maybe 2 or 3 a month, usually bad copies, printed on regular paper. The good ones are rare, but they're out there. If you really want to know if it's fake, bring it by the bank. I can check it with the pen and the UV light. The pen? Counterfeit detector pen. It has this iodine solution that reacts differently to real currency paper. Real bills are made from cotton and linen, not wood pulp. The pen marks stay yellow on real money, turn dark brown or black on fakes. That's simple? For basic counterfeits, yeah. The sophisticated ones are harder, but Dave, seriously, if you've got a fake bill, you need to turn it in. To us, to the police, to the Secret Service. They handle counterfeiting. The Secret Service? I thought they just protected the president. That's what everyone thinks, but their original job was stopping counterfeiters. They still do both. I thanked him and hung up, feeling more unsettled than before. The Secret Service. This had gone from finding a weird bill to federal crime territory real fast.
That evening, I stopped at CVS on the way home and bought one of those counterfeit detector pens for $5.99. The cashier, a teenager with blue hair and a nose ring, barely looked at me. I felt like I was buying something illegal, even though the pen was right there next to the impulse candy bars. At home, I waited until Marie was in the living room helping Emma with her trigonometry homework, a subject that made me feel ancient and useless, before I went upstairs to our bedroom. I locked the door, pulled out the bill, and uncapped the pen. My hand shook slightly as I made a small mark on the bottom corner. The mark turned dark brown, almost black. Definitely fake. I sat on the edge of our bed, staring at this worthless piece of paper that looked so much like something valuable. Part of me wanted to rip it up, flush it down the toilet, forget the whole thing. But another part, the part that had always been too curious for my own good, wanted to know more. Why was it in the Hendersons' trash? How many more were out there? And was this connected to something bigger? I took another photo, this time with the pen mark visible, and saved it to a folder on my phone I labeled Receipts. Then I hid the bill in the back of my sock drawer, underneath the winter wool socks I wouldn't need for another month. When I came back downstairs, Marie looked up from the couch. "You okay? You've been weird all day." "I'm fine, just work stress."
You gave it to him? Like, handed it to him? He said his wife threw it out by accident. I believed him. Dave, Marcus's voice had gone serious. If your neighbor knowingly has a fake bill and you gave it back to him, you might have just helped him with a federal crime. Do you understand that? My mouth went dry. I didn't know it was his. I mean, I found it in his trash. Doesn't matter. If the Secret Service gets involved and finds out you possessed a fake bill and then gave it to someone else, they're going to have questions. Serious questions. What should I do? Tell the truth. If anyone asks, you tell them exactly what happened. You found it, you tested it, you returned it to your neighbor who claimed it was his. That's it. Don't lie, don't try to protect anyone, just stick to the facts. I thanked him and hung up, feeling sick. I thought I was doing the right thing by returning the bill. Now I wasn't sure. The day at work was a blur. Frank gave me a thumbs up about the audit, said corporate was pleased, which in corporate speak meant you get to keep your job for now. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I kept thinking about Paul Henderson's face when I told him the bill was fake. That evening, I got home to find Marie in the kitchen making chicken stir-fry. Emma was at her friend's house studying. It was just the two of us. "You want to tell me what's going on?" Marie asked, not looking up from the vegetables she was chopping. "What do you mean?" "David, I've known you for 20 years. Something's eating you. You've been weird all week." I considered lying again, but I was tired and scared, and I needed to tell someone. So I told her everything. About finding the bill, about testing it, about Paul knocking on our door that morning. She listened without interrupting, the knife in her hand going still. When she finished, she put down the knife and turned to face me. "You need to report this," she said. "Paul asked me not to." "I don't care what Paul asked. David, if he's involved in something illegal, you can't protect him. And if he's not, then he should want to report it too. The fact that he doesn't want you to say anything is a huge red flag. What if I'm wrong? What if I ruin his life over nothing? What if you're right and you don't do anything? What if there are more fake bills out there? What if someone gets hurt?" She stepped closer, her voice softening. "I know you want to believe the best in people. That's one of the things I love about you. But sometimes people aren't who we think they are." I knew she was right. I'd known it since that morning, probably. I just hadn't wanted to admit it. "I'll call someone tomorrow. Figure out the right way to report it." She kissed my forehead. "Good. Now help me with dinner before I burn this garlic." We cooked together in comfortable silence, and for a little while I let myself pretend everything was normal. But in the back of my mind, I was already planning my next move. Because here's the thing about finding something that doesn't belong. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you start asking questions, you have to follow through, even if you don't like where the answers lead. Saturday morning, I woke up with a plan. I'd call the Secret Service field office in Newark, explain what I'd found, and let them handle it. Clean and simple. But when I Googled the number and actually started to dial, my finger hovered over the call button. What if they thought I was involved? What if returning the bill to Paul made me look guilty? Marcus said to stick to the facts, but would the facts be enough? I put my phone down. "You didn't call them, did you?" Marie said from the bedroom doorway. She was still in her pajamas, hair pulled back, arms crossed. "I'm going to." "When?" I need to think about how to explain it." She sat next to me on the couch. "David, the longer you wait, the worse this looks. You know that, right?" "I know." "So call them, now. I'll sit right here with you." She wasn't going to let this go. And honestly, I was grateful. Left to my own devices, I'd probably overthink myself into paralysis. I found the number for the Secret Service's Newark field office and dialed before I could change my mind. It rang 3 times before someone picked up. "Secret Service, how may I direct your call?" "Hi, I need to report. I found what I think is a counterfeit bill." "One moment, please." I was transferred twice, put on hold for what felt like an hour, but was probably 3 minutes, before a man's voice came on the line. "This is Agent Morrison. You're calling about a counterfeit note." "Yes." "I found a $100 bill in my neighbor's trash on Tuesday. I tested it. The paper's wrong. It fails the detector pen test. The watermark looks fake. I gave it back to my neighbor yesterday morning, and now I'm worried I should have reported it first." There was a pause. I could hear typing in the background. "Your name?" "David Chen." "And your address?" I gave it to him, along with Paul Henderson's address. Marie squeezed my hand. "You said you gave the note back to your neighbor." "He knocked on my door and said his wife had thrown it out by accident. I didn't think, I told him it was fake, but he still wanted it. Said he needed to figure out where it came from." More typing. "Did your neighbor say where he obtained the note?" "He said someone paid him back for lunch with it, but that seemed weird. Who pays back lunch money with a $100 bill?" "Good question, Mr. Chen. I'm going to need you to come into the office to make a formal statement. Can you do that today?" My heart sank. "Today? The sooner we document this, the better. Our office is in downtown Newark. I can schedule you for 2 p.m. Does that work?" I looked at Marie. She nodded. "Yeah, that works." He gave me the address and some instructions about what to bring. ID, any photos I'd taken of the bill, any documentation of when I found it. When I hung up, I felt simultaneously relieved and terrified. "I'm coming with you," Marie said. "You don't have to." "I'm coming." We spent the rest of the morning trying to act normal. I mowed the lawn, Marie did laundry, Emma came home and complained about her chemistry teacher. The ordinary rhythm of a Saturday, except my stomach was in knots the entire time. At 1:15, Marie and I got in the car and drove to Newark. The Secret Service office was in a nondescript building downtown, the kind of place you'd walk past without noticing. Inside, it was all industrial carpet and fluorescent lights. We checked in at the front desk, showed our IDs, and were told to wait. 20 minutes later, Agent Morrison appeared. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 35, with close-cropped hair and an expression that gave nothing away. "Mr. Chen? Mrs. Chen? Follow me." We were led to a small conference room with a table, 4 chairs, and a recording device in the center. My mouth went dry. "This is just for documentation purposes," Agent Morrison said, noticing my expression. "You're not in trouble. We appreciate you coming forward." He asked me to tell the story from the beginning, stopping occasionally to ask clarifying questions. When did I find a bill? Exactly where? What time did Paul Henderson come to my door? What were his exact words? I answered as honestly as I could, showing him the photos I'd taken on my phone. "These are very helpful," he said, studying the images. "You did the right thing by documenting this." Am I in trouble for giving the bill back?" "No, you acted in good faith. However, I do need to ask, have you seen any other suspicious currency, either in your neighbor's possession or anywhere else?" "No, just that one bill."
He nodded, made some notes. And you said Mr. Henderson seemed nervous when you told him the bill was fake? Not nervous, exactly. More like caught off guard. And then he really didn't want me to tell anyone about it. Did he offer you anything to keep quiet? Money? Favors? No. He just said he needed to figure out where it came from and didn't want to spook whoever gave it to him. Agent Morrison leaned back in his chair. Mr. Chen, I'm going to be straight with you. We've been tracking a counterfeiting operation in northern New Jersey for about 6 months. The bills are good, not perfect, but good enough to pass casual inspection. Your neighbor works in finance, correct? Yeah, something with hedge funds. We've had our eye on several individuals in that sector. Financial professionals have access to the kind of equipment that makes high-quality counterfeits. They also have the knowledge to distribute them through legitimate channels. I felt cold. You think Paul is making fake money? I didn't say that, but we're going to look into it. In the meantime, I need you to do something for me. What? Act normal. Don't confront your neighbor. Don't tell anyone else about this conversation. And if he approaches you again, listen to what he says, but don't commit to anything. Can you do that? I looked at Marie. She looked as scared as I felt. Yes, I can do that. He gave me his card, told me to call if anything else happened, and walked us out. On the drive home, Marie and I barely spoke. The weight of what I just learned, that my neighbor might be a counterfeiter, that I'd stumbled into the middle of a federal investigation, felt surreal. We're going to be okay, Marie said, pulling into our driveway. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because we told the truth and we're going to keep telling the truth. That's all we can do. I wanted to believe her, but as I looked across the street at the Hendersons' house, their perfectly maintained lawn, their expensive cars, their normal suburban existence, I couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get much more complicated. And I was right. For the next week, I tried to follow Agent Morrison's instructions. Act normal. Don't engage. Be a good witness. It was harder than I thought. Every time I saw Paul outside, checking his mail, getting in his car, talking to other neighbors, I felt this bizarre mix of fear and guilt. Fear that he'd somehow know I'd reported him. Guilt that I was keeping this massive secret.
Then he was in the car, and the car drove away. Marie put her hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing. I wanted to believe her, but watching Paul Henderson, father, neighbor, apparent criminal, disappear down our quiet suburban street, I felt no satisfaction.